Hello everyone, my name is Disney Miss Lizzie and welcome to today's episode. Now, one of the first questions that you probably want to ask a Whovian is what is your favourite episode of Doctor Who, along with their favourite Doctor. But what might be a better question to ask is what is your favourite Doctor Who guilty pleasure episode? So in today's countdown video, I'm going to be looking at my top 5 Doctor Who guilty pleasure episodes, including the one that received the most feedback on TikTok. So these episodes are either ones that haven't been ranked very highly on IMDb or aren't considered great storylines within the Doctor Who community. So let's grab our sonic screwdrivers, head into the Tardis and go to the 50th century for our first episode. Travelling to a remote island to visit a monastery-turned-factory, the Doctor, Amy and Rory come across something known as the Flesh, an artificial skin that can duplicate employees who have been killed at the factory. The two-parter holds a Frankenstein feel to it, along with the ethical questions of what it means to create life and the complications that come with it, along with the theme of disposable workers and how their treatment has led to this rather violent but somewhat justifiable rebellion. The gothic setting of the monastery really puts the horror tone into the episode, along with the machines that the workers are tied up to, and the scratchy record of Dusty Springfield singing across this sort of no man's land area as the Doctor, Amy and Rory arrive. You also have Rory stepping out of his comfort zone by standing up to the Doctor and Amy. He empathises with the Flesh's argument of not being valued and being perceived as a disposable ally. There are also some great directing and editing choices, and you cannot ignore the twist at the end of the Almost People. But shh, spoilers. But one of the biggest weaknesses is definitely in the CGI. Indeed, even at the time of broadcasting in 2011, the graphics just weren't great, and it does pull you out of the moment. So for example, when Jennifer shows Rory the rotting flesh, the pain that they must be experiencing kind of stops as soon as you see the CGI. It takes you away from that moment, and what should be a harrowing and traumatic thing to see, it just falls flat because of it. I'm also not a great fan of the Doctor becoming angry with Amy. I found it too much of a jump for 11 to resort to that type of behaviour. Somehow it doesn't feel right to see someone who is so opposed to violence to use that strategy, but that could just be me. There are also some weird acting choices and dialogue choices within the episode too, so when Jennifer is trying to convince the Doctor to join the rebellion, it just falls flat and her presence wasn't strong enough to sort of carry it. Particularly for what they're trying to establish with the Doctor, that, you know, are you going to come and help us? Are you joining our protest, our rebellion to say that we are more than just disposable flesh? However, this episode still pulls me in and keeps hold of my attention, and it is a thought-provoking narrative which, outside of the poor CGI, is the thing that beats at the heart of the story. Our second trip in the TARDIS is for another two-parter. This time though, we swap 11 for 9 and a monastery for 10 Downing Street. The first two-parter of New Who, The Aliens of London and World War III, is very much driven by the cheesy, childish aliens known as the Slitheen. The Slitheen are a family of gas-filled aliens who are very much at the heart of family audiences. They are not threatening to look at and are easily marketable towards a younger demographic. But they still maintain a dark side through their gruesome killing methods of stripping humans of their flesh and using their skin as a vessel. But even during these grotesque scenes, writer Russell T Davies plays them off as light and safe, an element that the show has kind of lost over the years. You also have these great moments of 9 being thrown into family life and the extraordinary meeting and having to mix with the ordinary. So one of my favourite parts is when 9 is trying to watch the BBC News, but in the background you have everyone from the estate. You have Jackie talking about her love life, and then as the channels are hopping, you also had former Blue Peter presenter Matt Baker baking his very own spaceship cake, and it's just a great scene. The same can be applied to backbencher Harriet Jones, MP for Flydale North. Rather than portraying her as a corrupt and powerful politician, she is a local MP wanting to save her constituency's local cottage hospitals. But she stands up to the occasion when needed and works with the Doctor and Rose to help defeat the Slitheen. But what really gives the episode depth is Jackie. In the midst of meeting aliens and time travel, the reality for the companions' families who are left behind is a very different story. First time within Doctor Who's history we get that side of things. And it's possibly something that Doctor Who fans have maybe never considered before. You know, what happens to those who are left behind? How does it feel? You're not watching somebody just leave home, you're watching somebody leave the planet, you're watching somebody leave your moment in time. And I think it's something that Russell T Davies did extremely well, and it's the thing that I greatly admire within these two-parter episodes, which, you know, on the surface they are very cheesy, comedic. I think 9 has one of the best lines in it.
I think you'll find the Prime Minister is an alien in disguise. That's never going to work, is it? No. Fair enough.
And it's moments like these that show off Christopher Eccleston as 9, and after rewatching this I do wish we had more time with him in the TARDIS. In amongst that you do have Jackie, you do have these down-to-earth moments which Russell T Davies did so well, and it is an element that I feel has been missing from the new series, and I hope it's something that Russell T Davies brings back when he begins 15's adventures in the new year. Now it's time for the ultimate love or hate episode, and it is the one that received the most response on TikTok. It is Season 2's Love and Monsters. The first episode of New Who to feature very little of the Doctor, Love and Monsters follows the story of Elton and his mission to meet the Doctor. Told through a combination of video diary and traditional third-person perspective, we are introduced to a selection of characters who are also trying to find the Doctor in weekly group meetings, otherwise known as Linda, which stands for London Investigation and Detective Agency. The episode also stars British stand-up comedian Peter Kay, who plays the villainous Victor Kennedy, an alien who is trying to find the Doctor so he can absorb him and the TARDIS. First thing that I would say about Love and Monsters is that it is a harmless episode. You know, you aren't going to get moments of gripping the sofa in absolute agonising tension. It is just a very sweet story of a man named Elton trying to meet the Doctor and the people that he, you know, meets along the way in sort of Scooby-Doo-esque moments. Whilst researching for Love and Monsters, I was surprised to find out that Linda was seen as an offensive stereotype towards Doctor Who fans, which I personally wouldn't agree with. The members of Linda use the Doctor as an escape route from their everyday life, like with Bridget's backstory, and her determination to find her daughter gives not only the story depth but also the characters. The same with Jackie, as we continue to explore her vulnerability of being left alone. She never knows when Rose is coming home or where she is, and so acts in these moments of desperation. There are also some nods towards the setup of Torchwood, ready for the season finale, and the build-up to Season 3's Harold Saxon storyline. The design for the Absorbaloff must be forgiven, as it was created by a 12-year-old Blue Peter winner. It's something that Peter Kay would later say was the worst decision that he's made in his career. Although he enjoyed making the episode, he just didn't enjoy running around Cardiff and the end results. Originally he was offered the role as Elton, but he turned it down because he felt that it was too similar to a character that he'd already played in the ITV soap opera Coronation Street. Love and Monsters feels like a separate episode from other Doctor Who stories, which does make it oddly charming. You just need to forgive the bad CGI choices and that awkward scene between Elton and Ursula. Next up is the second story in Matt Smith's first tenure as the Doctor in The Beast Below. Continuing with Amy's fairy tale-like encounter with the Doctor, we travel to the 33rd century, where the citizens of the United Kingdom, minus Scotland who wanted their own ship, are travelling on board the spaceship UK in search of a new home. So one of the best things for me about The Beast Below is the Doctor and Amy's relationship. It's clear very early on that they bounce off one another and they have this great sort of level of banter. I also felt very safe with Matt Smith as well, and considering that he had just taken over from David Tennant, a Doctor who was most beloved, especially by myself, he was my Doctor, and to feel very safe with him already was just a massive hey, and I loved his graceful and yet awkward movements, all added to these extra layers that then built up 11, and you could feel that you were getting to know him more, and I just loved it. The introduction to Liz 10 and the complicated links between the Doctor and the other members of the royal family, including the marriage to Elizabeth I, whom the audience had not fully met yet, is also a great addition. I love Liz's confidence, but also her humble approach towards her subjects. Liz is a strong but noble queen who wants to do her best for her people. But this is also when things become to get unnecessarily complicated. Out of Doctor Who writers, Stephen Moffat is one of my personal favourites. He's done so many of my all-time favourite Doctor Who episodes. However, Stephen Moffat has a very bad habit of trying to make things too clever and too complicated. You can see that within the Clara storyline. In the midst of trying to find out, why is this ship so smooth in sailing through outer space, and why has Liz 10 not aged, you get these very odd moments of Amy from the future begging her past self to get the Doctor off the ship. You also have the Smilers, which turn out to be more annoying than threatening. They just don't balance each other out, and it's an episode that I still struggle in trying to follow as to how this all lines up, and it is extremely wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sort of thing. But even Stephen Moffat admits that this is his least favourite episode that he wrote for Doctor Who, and he basically described it as, it's a bit of a mess. For our final trip in the TARDIS, we are heading back to Cardiff to visit the newly elected mayor and the Rift. 6 months after Downing Street was blown up, we meet up with Margaret and her plan to create a new nuclear power station in the heart of Cardiff. Just like Aliens of London and World War III, the episode has been tailor-made for the younger demographic, but there are poignant and thought-provoking moments that aren't usually associated with the Slitheen, but this episode does feature some interesting philosophical arguments. So when the Doctor brings Margaret back to the TARDIS, he promises to take her to Vaxacora Falapatorius, where Margaret reveals that the death sentence has been placed on the family of Slitheen. She then poses the question of whether those in the TARDIS can look her in the eye, for not only are they her prison wardens, they are also her executioners. This moral theme continues throughout the episode when the Doctor takes Margaret out for dinner, and they have this mental game of chess of one trying to outdo the other. So Margaret asks the Doctor, "How much do you know of our family Slitheen?" He says, "Only as much as I know," and then this sort of strategy starts to happen where she throws literally anything at him, but he's always one step ahead. And it's a very clever scene with this quite deep discussion. But by the end of the meal, Margaret tells the Doctor of the life that she recently spared. She has proven that she can change, and if taken to a different member of the Slitheen family, she can be protected. But as soon as the rift starts to open, this is when the episode starts to dip for me, as the script becomes slightly weaker and you have Margaret transitioning into an egg, and not a very well designed egg, and some cheesy lines about the tart of the TARDIS, and it just, again, kind of like the delivery with Jennifer in the Almost People, it just falls a little bit flat. And you had some very clever moments and these brilliant uses of dialogue and some great lines from 9. I absolutely love 9 in this episode, but it just falls flat. So that's possibly why it's a guilty episode. And again, the CGI and the design for the Slitheen aren't great, but there are some extremely, extremely thought-provoking moments in there. So those are my top 5 guilty pleasure Doctor Who episodes. But are there any that I've missed? Do you agree with my list? If so, or if not, then please leave a comment in the comments description and I'd love to read them. So anyway, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you like what I do and want to know more, then please hit that subscribe button, like and share this video so we can build up the community. And for more Disney and Doctor Who related content, then please follow me on Instagram, TikTok and Lemons8. So anyway, thank you so much again, guys. Have a wonderful day and I will see you very, very soon. Okay, bye guys, bye.